aspects of the site. 5, signs need to be brought into compliance with the city's sign ordinance. 6, the improvements or minor expansions shall not increase non-compliance with site requirements. 7, a site plan shall be submitted in accordance with Article 13 site plan review. And then C, the city may require a performance guarantee to ensure that all improvements be made in accordance with the approved plan. These plans were reviewed by the Grand River Corridor Improvement Authority, and they made the following motion, which was approved unanimously. Motion to recommend approval of the site plan for the dental office project at 31030 and 31036 Grand River to the Planning Commission as presented with all waivers requested except with respect to the following requirements. 1, that 2 trees be added to the interior of the parking lot, and 2, a 36-inch screening wall be added in front of the spaces on Grand River and Lilac. And so what we're going to do today is I'm going to invite up the developer who will review their revised site plan, which is in response to the Grand River Corridor Improvement Authority. And then you can ask questions of them. And then we'll go through both letters provided by OHM to determine whether waivers will be granted. So with that, I would invite the developers to come up and present their project.
My name is Dr. Angelina Salem. I grew up in Farmington. I went to Gill Elementary School, Farmington High School. My first job was actually at Village Shoe in downtown Farmington. And I'm back here in the city that I was raised in, super excited to open up a dental office in the city that I was born in. So I'm really excited about it. Thank you for your time tonight.
Thanks. My name is Tom Pasolka. I'm the architect for EDG. It's a firm that focuses on helping medical professionals open their practices. Also my wife and I own Beyond Juice right here in downtown. So we're happy to see another project come through into the city. Let's see. And everybody's familiar with the site? Yes. So it's the former rustic pub. It's been vacant for 15, 16 years now, or more. But we really want to take an opportunity here and reuse the existing skeleton, the existing structure, and see what we could how we could use that structure to accommodate Dr. Angelina's practice. This was our initial rendering of what we were looking at of the building. This is just existing conditions of what it's currently. It's mostly parking lot as it is right now. And after review with the Grand River Corridor Authority, we were looking at some slight additions. We added a couple additional trees into the parking lot. That was requested and here. So we added a couple additional trees, and then we moved the bike rack and modified kind of the handicap space so it's a little bit safer so that you can walk straight into the paved area. Should I go into like detail or just give an overview?
And maybe discuss
Okay.
the how many patients will be there and just different improvements that you're making to the site?
Okay. So the building's really designed to really merge 2 existing buildings on the site. So there's 31, that's why there's 2 addresses that we keep referring to, 31030 and 36. So we were looking at merging those 2 buildings to really allow the patient flow and staff flow to work between those 2 buildings and economize that overall footprint. We were looking at a total of 7 operatories or treatment rooms and additional waiting space, reception and business office uses to support those treatment rooms. And then, so as we were working on the interior, we really wanted to take a focus on the exterior and what that really looks like. So we really wanted to keep a very simple palette. Again, keep the existing structure as much as possible. We just looked at introducing windows into that facade along the parking lot, and then create a nicer material palette with a veneer stone that we could apply at the base, and then bringing that feature of veneer stone to kind of demarcate the main entrance to the building. And locating some signage at both along the Grand River side as well as the Lilac side. I think the other, like Chris mentioned, we look to improve the overall, redo all the asphalt, so a mill and cap there. We also look to kind of beautify the street frontage along Grand River by introducing landscape. We're working within the right-of-way of Grand River, so we are seeking and we'll start coordinating our work with MDOT, who is the jurisdiction over there. But we are just looking at very non-permanent or non-infrastructure-based systems here, so trees, bushes, and vegetation. And we wanted to create some screening through landscape along Grand River in front of the parking lot, as well as creating that screening along Lilac, but again with landscape and not hard infrastructure or foundation work. Then I think the doctor was, very open to making this kind of a presence on the site, again, with the beautification of the landscape and trying to like kind of minimize the appearance of the parking lot itself, but also being able to focus on the building entrance. So that was kind of our approach.
And maybe tell me if you could pass out those materials to show.
Yeah, so we just wanted to, again, keep it very clean. Timeless is kind of our thought process, and, I really do like what they did at Denali.
I'm sorry, could you just speak into the microphone, because it's just for,
It comes out, the microphone.
Yeah, we were just saying, we were just keeping a more of a timeless palette, similar to what they did at Denali. I think it's a nice approach that just will endure, so. But, so the materials, again, are stone stacked veneer right there. That's a sample. These are references. They're not, they might not be exact yet, but the colors are what we're looking for.
Before we move on to questions, I'd just like to point out that the authors of the two letters from OHM are in attendance today. So if you have questions related to their letters, we have Adriana Jordan, who's at the end of the table over there, who wrote the planning review letter. And then we have Austin Downey, who wrote the engineering review letter. And again, all the verbiage in the previous staff report comes down to we have a set level of standards in the city, which are discussed by our planning and engineering consultant in their letters. But we do have an ability for sites that are challenged to be brought closer into compliance without meeting all those different rules. And so that's what we're here to discuss today.
all right, thank you. All right, honestly, for me, I've been driving past this site for 20 years. And seeing something like this, and like he had mentioned just a second ago about it being compared to similar to like a canal, there's a lot of people in this town that think that the east side of this town is forgotten. And this clearly represents that it's not. So this is fantastic, first and foremost for me. I just had just a couple of quick questions. So is this Is this a completely new practice, or are you moving from
This is a completely new practice.
completely new? Okay.
Start of office.
Okay. And project duration, once you clear all the hurdles, or you have like a rough estimate as to how long the project would take to get from the existing to what's planned?
The inside's about 4 months, and the outside, we're planning for 2 months.
Okay.
So maybe a little bit more depending on what time the landscape is.
Okay, and this would kick off once you're clear with the city and with the state and everything, you start immediately?
Right.
Okay, thank you. If any of the other commissioners have any comments or questions for OHM staff or for the petitioner?
Yeah, could we request that somebody from OHM just step up and give a brief, like, executive summary of their review?
Sure.
Yes.
So I actually have it on my laptop, so I'm going to try to provide that
Okay.
summary from the table down here. Okay, can everyone hear me?
Yes,
Excellent.
thank you.
So I'll just go through my recommendations for conditions for approval, if that works for the commissioners. Okay. So I had 15 recommendations for conditions of approval, and specifically, I'm going to actually start by highlighting the waivers that were mentioned earlier. There are 5 waivers that would be required, basically, in order to recommend approval based off of the current condition of the site plan. And those waivers include a waiver from the streetlight requirement, so that the applicant would not be required to put streetlights on Grand River Avenue. There is also a request from the applicant for a waiver of the screening wall requirement, where the property line on the north abuts an alleyway, and then across from that, there is single-family residential. There is a 6-foot-tall privacy fence on the residential side of that alleyway. So it does seem reasonable that the applicant wouldn't necessarily be adding to the existing conditions of privacy by then building a 6-foot-tall screening wall in addition to the existing 6-foot-tall fence that's already there. So that's the second waiver. The third waiver would be from the parking lot design. They have requested a waiver of the knee wall requirement. Now, in this case, when I say a knee wall requirement, it's supposed to be a like masonry type knee wall, and what they're proposing is a knee wall that is made up of vegetation. So that would be where the waiver comes into play to allow them to do a green knee wall instead of a masonry knee wall for that particular element. The fourth waiver would be for from the on-street parking requirements. There is a provision in the zoning ordinance that does require that you cannot go over 10% of what the minimum required parking is. And right now, based off of the parking calculations, the minimum required parking is 13 parking spaces, and there's 24 spaces required, so that is over that 10%. So they are requesting a waiver from the Planning Commission to be able to exceed more than 10% of the minimum parking. And then there's a fifth waiver from the interior parking lot landscaping, and at the time that this letter was written, they did not have those trees in the interior of the parking lot. That waiver may no longer apply, actually, with the revised version of the site plan that they provided on screen tonight showing the interior parking lot landscaping. So those are the 5 waivers at play. The other conditions that we are recommending as conditions of approval include clarifying the property ownership, determining that the lot size is adequate to permit required setbacks, parking, and landscaping, the revising the site plan to comply with the pole height requirements. The site plan was submitted in your packets. In the photometric plan shows a 22-foot height for the poles, but I think they have since revised that to show 20 feet in their latest version of a site plan. The fourth condition had to do with determining if it's acceptable to landscape in the city's right-of-way, where they are proposing that the knee wall that would be of a vegetative manner. We had also requested that they clarify that they put in a thornless honey locust, because the site plan that I believe is part of your package shows just a regular honey locust, which is a prohibited plant species in the zoning ordinance. Remaining conditions include relocating the bicycle rack, which the applicant already discussed tonight, that they have relocated it towards the front of the building. Previously, it was around the back of the building, and you would have to go all the way around the parking lot into the alleyway to access it. And then we also had asked them to clarify the height of the shrubs and perennials at the time of planting. And regarding the time of planting, the applicant has requested a temporary C of O. Our recommendation is that a financial guarantee in the amount of the remaining improvements is provided to the city if there is a temporary C of O issued, to ensure that there is some bonding for the landscaping, essentially. We have also asked them to clarify and indicate the type of irrigation system they are proposing. They just said that they would be taking irrigation from the building, but they did not specify what type of irrigation that would be for the landscaping. And then we just request that if any plant material dies or becomes diseased, it's replaced within 30 days. And that is a summary of the 15 recommended conditions in the planning site review letter. I will turn it over to Austin to go through the engineering letter if you'd like to hear that.
Please.
Should we do questions first for Adriana before Austin, or do
we
you
have-
want to hear them both at the same time?
I'm comfortable with hearing them both at the same time.
Yep.
Everybody's good. Dan, you good? Mr. Cam?
Go ahead, Austin.
Yeah, please.
Good evening, guys. I want to start with the comment on that's recurring on a lot of these is just comment remains at discretion of the city. So that stems from, I believe the site was initially submitted as like a facade modification, not so much a site plan where, we would be looking at the parking lot and the whole site as a whole. However, due to the fact that there is a substantial amount of surface reconstruction, we were asked to review it. So I will say, because of that, these are all, up to the commissioner, the city to enforce. But I reviewed this based on how I would any other site plan that comes in where I'm looking at, I don't want to say significant, but a considerable amount of, pavement reconstruction affecting the site layout. A handful of these comments are pretty straightforward, like just in terms of details, cross-section, sidewalk, pavement, curb. But a couple of big points that I do want to hit on. The applicant did mention that they'll be reaching out to MDOT, which is great. I do want to caution, while a lot of the improvements in the MDOT right-of-way are more or less just landscape-related, sidewalk, there is some parking, like part of the parking spaces are proposed within the right-of-way. It's totally up to them if they want to approve it or not. Obviously, if they do approve it, you could be at their mercy if they ever decide to really open up this corridor and do something crazy. So I want to put that out there. We typically, we don't like approving stuff within the MDOT right away because it's not our jurisdiction. However, if you're proposing it, it's totally up to them whether they want to agree with it or not. So typically, we just disagree with it because it's better safe than sorry. And then another comment that I want to mention, or just kind of go over briefly, stormwater, it's always a hot topic of debate. The Grand River corridor in Farmington, the sewer underneath it is severely undersized. It's an MDOT issue. It's beyond anything here. Typically, with any redevelopment site, it's almost like no ifs, ands, or buts now. We basically recommend that the applicant completely handles all their stormwater with, underground detention. In this case, this is such a small site where that's not really feasible. They're decreasing impervious surfaces. So, we pretty much just ask, show us something, how you might handle it, whether you want to make some of these landscaped areas more rain garden-like, and then it would be permissible to then run sewer from there to the public infrastructure. And, with that said, too, it's a pretty flat site. Part of it drains to the Grand River, part of it drains to the back. Nowadays, anytime we're redeveloping a site like this, we want it all handled on site. Don't send anything to Grand River. And that's something MDOT will look at too, that they, if they see you're putting stuff into their right of way, they're not gonna like it. So that's just another caution as well. Like I said, a lot of these other comments are pretty straightforward, I think. From an engineering standpoint, I understand that this is all, architectural related right now, but from an engineering standpoint, I don't think many of these comments are difficult to address by an engineer. Site circulation too, I think, is another important thing. It appears to function, however, there's an existing utility pole kind of in the back of the lot near where the proposed dumpster enclosure is. I don't want to say, yes, it's going to be accessible by a dump truck or not. I can't tell without a turning template. We don't like making assumptions there. But just verifying that works. There's no parking space there, but, I say that because if MDOT comes back and says, hey, we don't want you to put any parking here, you might have to figure out your configuration a little bit more. I know you're proposing more parking spots than what you technically need, which is great. But that could just change the dynamic of the lot and how it functions itself. So, like I said, all in all, I reviewed this based on what we look for from site plans. And, there's still some missing information, but I think it's all information that can be addressed moving forward. I don't think it's anything that should prevent this from happening. But ultimately, the way this is proposed, it's kind of up to the commissioners to move it forward. So, but yeah. It's the engineering review.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
All right. Do we have any comments or questions for OHM staff?
I have a quick question.
Yes, sir.
This one might be for Austin. Sorry, you might have to go back up. Fair enough. Austin, you said that the drainage is coming back to the alley and to Grand River. If I'm reading this correctly, it looks like you're curbing along Grand River, so that's gonna catch it, and so it'll all either stay on site or drain. I mean, I don't know if I haven't seen a topo map or anything, so I'm making assumptions based on the street view.
I think it's reasonable to assume that. There's no grades provided on the plans.
And there's
It's an
no-
architectural overview site plan, so, but, I would assume that's the intention, but
Yeah, it does slope. The current grades, you're tall. The current grades slope it back towards the building and towards the alley.
And there's no current detention on site, I'm assuming? Okay.
No, but there's two catch basins behind the building.
Behind the
in-
building?
In the alley.
In the alley, okay. And then I guess that's my other question, is this alley through here, is there a access agreement or anything in there that is or needs to be in place for this? Looks like, it's the alley connected to the adjacent parking lot. And
I don't think there's, I'm not aware of any sort of agreement right now.
Curious.
I don't know that one's necessarily needed either. I think that alley's considered, pretty public and can be used by just anybody, so.
to the alley is public?
Yes.
So it kind of ties everything in together in that little area.
Okay. And I'm sorry, question about your parking requirements. Is it 22 spaces are required per your occupant?
Yes, based on the patient count, the staff count, and the doctor count, so. I think we provided a breakdown. I know it's probably small, but
I'm just saying, my dentist, I've never seen all the chairs full. And that's in a 3 or 4 seat office, and you're gonna have 7. That's,
we, with a lot of these practices, the trend has been to move away from the smaller 3-4 op practice into these larger 8 op, or some are now 20 ops. So the parking, I think a lot of ordinances I've seen with different cities is either playing catch up to the trends of dental offices.
I think we counted about 13 staff members, 7 operatories. So there will be 3 doctors total. That's the long-term goal. So yes, there are moments where each operatory will be sat with a patient. So that's about 20 spots. So I need that parking.
a lot of teeth.
A lot of people have cavities.
Yeah. Yeah, this is my concern is going into the right-of-way with the Grand River right-of-way with your parking.
It was there existing.
It's there now.
We did not propose, we were just beautifying the edge there.
And I guess, could you also clarify some of the relief you are asking for in the site plan? I know there's some things that were requested or required, but you're specifically asking for some relief to some of the requirements?
Yeah, I think the main one that we're requesting is one of them is the solid knee wall being masonry. It's kind of what the ordinance is saying. We're just asking it to be looked at as a screen wall. Additionally, we did do surveys throughout the entire corridor. There's really no other knee wall other than at the bank, and that's not solid. It's a fence with piers, and then up here at downtown at Riley Park. So we didn't see any other precedent for creating a solid knee wall along both Lilac and Grand River.
There are a couple of new renovations along Grand River as well, and they don't have that knee wall either.
I do believe there's a renovation across the street relatively recently, across Lilac, and they didn't put in a knee wall.
No one did.
You're talking about the construction?
Yeah.
Yep. It was actually on the Grand River corridor.
Yeah, you remember we had the Flexer Bank at Orchard and Grand River not too long ago before us, and that's just a fence and pillars like you had mentioned before.
I do have a question, though, Mr. Chair and Mr. Weber. So there are several waivers that's being requested. Is it then up to the Planning Commission to review each one and say which one we're accepting as a waiver or not?
Yes.
Okay.
We'll have to clearly state that.
So are we going to go through each one?
Well, I would say that if there's a motion, there would be a motion, and then it would spell out each one, or it would be, Chris, correct me if I'm wrong, so if it was we had issues with, say, 3 out of 5, we would table the motion until they were addressed, and then petitioner would have to come back with a counter proposal, or?
So I think you could, it might be helpful to go through each one to just see where the, everyone on the planning commission is, and then make a motion after maybe you've had discussion on each one of those.
Sure, sure. All right.
But then, yes, you could make a motion that says, this would be approved if you do all these things. Or you could say, there's not enough here, you need to come back once you revise your plans. Does that cover it, Beth? Is there?
Yeah, I mean, you could make a motion to approve. Make a motion to approve, you know, like this, the CIA did, they approved all of them with 2 exceptions. So approved all the waivers requested, and they named the exceptions. You could list each one, and list any, you know, exceptions also. I mean, it's just, if you want to go through each one and say, you know, motion to approve, site plan, and also approving waivers, you know, and list them out, that's fine. I mean, just as long as you're making a record of what you're approving and why, what you're not approving and why.
Isn't it, right now, there's just the one, I mean, just the knee wall is what you're asking waiver for?
There's
There's quite a few.
The,
there's lighting, there's sidewalk, I think. Maybe
Some of these
somebody
things have
should.
already been addressed, though, right?
yes, I
No,
thought,
they've been addressed only to the extent that CIA made a recommendation. And I don't know what changes have been made on the site plan since then. That was just last week.
Adriana, maybe you could go through the different ones again, but pause after each one and
Yeah,
Give,
go to page 6 of 7. If you go to page 6 of 7, they're listed. So,
at the back
So
of, oh, wait.
currently, I believe that there are 4 waivers that would still be part of the recommendations. Because I believe that the applicant's most recent site plan, which is not in the packet, satisfies the interior parking lot landscaping, which had been a waiver in the letter that isn't part of the packet. But the other 4 proposed waivers include a waiver from streetlights, because there was a streetlight requirement in the Grand River Corridor Overlay District to install street lighting along Grand River. So the applicant is requesting a waiver from that, and I'll pause.
And then maybe you could say why you're requesting the waiver.
So we did an analysis up Grand River from 9 Mile up to at least Orchard. There's none on the north side. Again, so these are decorative streetlights, like the green ones that are, that's the intent. So it was the intent to bring those across. So, so we did not find any precedent along Grand River in that area. And again, we didn't want to install something permanent inside of MDOT's right away.
And I think also, as you had discussed in the letter, it might be strange to have 3 poles
were there,
and nowhere else on the,
and there are none right now.
Is this the same pole that's across the street in front of
Yes.
Service
On the
Master?
south side, there's
On
one.
the south side, I see one, like
Yeah.
directly across from your site.
Yeah. But
It's the only one with, oh, no, there's another one a little ways down, but there's nothing on the north side.
Right.
And, yeah, you're talking about being right there in the right of way. Okay.
I think, I'll leave the opinions out.
Would you like me to continue with the?
Please. Yeah, if there's no other comments or questions, just, yep, please.
So the second proposed waiver is for the transition from the abutting single-family residential. So that was in reference to the 6-foot-high screening wall that would normally be required. But because of the presence of the alley and the a 6-foot-high fence on the residential side of the alley. The applicant is requesting a waiver, and that is something that does seem reasonable from a planning standpoint as well, given the existing screening infrastructure in that area.
So that screening that is normally required would be on this applicant's side of the alley per the ordinance?
So
So that you'd basically wall off both sides of the of the alley then?
So what the code says on that is that there's an additional provision that's also related to the fact that there's a parking lot present within the alley than simply on the residential. And the code says, if the parking lot is separated from adjacent residential by a public alley, then the planning commission shall have the discretion to determine which side of the alley the screening shall be placed and the amount of screening necessary. So that is written into the code for that provision.
So they could have been made to build a screen wall on the neighbor's property?
They could have.
Or the edge of the
built it
alley.
On the other side of the alley, in theory, based off of how that's written.
Okay, just make sure I understood that.
But the fencing does exist right now, so there's screening existing.
Yes, there's an opaque 6-foot-high fence on the opposite side of the alley. That is,
This would be sort of under the assumption that that homeowner maintains that, right?
it would be.
I guess it would be up to them to maintain their fence.
Yeah.
Right.
If something happened to the fence,
They really
they're
wanna
the
be
ones that will
into the
complain about not having the fence. So.
Exactly.
Okay.
So the third recommendation waiver was related to the knee wall that was required along Grand River Avenue. And again, the ordinance states it should be masonry. What the applicant's proposing is a vegetative screen wall.
And that's as opposed to no screen wall at all.
And also keeping in mind what Austin's discussed earlier, that unless the parking lot was reconfigured because the parking lot asphalt overhangs into that MDOT right-of-way, you wouldn't want to then add infrastructure or foundational work in that right-of-way. Would you like me to move on to the fourth?
Yes, no comments or questions?
Are there details on the vegetation? Is that-
We were looking at 3-foot-high yews or arborvitaes, something evergreen.
Okay, please.
So then the final waiver that is up for consideration this evening is in regards to the off-street parking requirements that were discussed earlier with the zoning ordinance requiring 13 parking spaces and 24 parking spaces being provided, and then having the zoning ordinance cap parking at no more than 10% of what the minimum required is. So the planning commission has the discretion to provide a waiver from that maximum parking requirement. And just to also mention that the way that the zoning ordinance calculates parking for medical facilities is based off of the square footage. It doesn't actually take into account the number of employees or patients the way that the ordinance is written.
Tommy, could you speak to the fact, is the existing parking lot staying the same, or will it be bigger or smaller?
The existing parking lot outline is the same. The parking count from what it currently is being reduced by a couple spaces. We striped off some areas so you can access the dumpster. We striped off another area for the internal parking lot trees, and some landscaping. So think we net lost maybe, I think 4 offhand
I thought it was more than that.
from the existing.
Yeah, I thought I know you, because you reconfigured, not reconfigured, but I thought it was more, I thought you lost more spaces in your configuration.
The 24 spaces was based off of the site plan that's in the packet, which doesn't reflect the addition of the interior parking lot landscaping in the more revised site plan.
Do we have any other questions for OHM or for staff concerning?
Yeah, so you mentioned earlier, so the 5th waiver regarding the parking lot, interior parking lot, that's no longer an issue?
It appears that in the most recent site plan provided by the applicant, which is not the one in the packet, it appears that the interior parking lot landscaping has been addressed.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so there's 4 waivers then.
Yes.
Yep.
Yep.
And then,
Yes, sir.
in terms of the engineering, I think it might be worthwhile to have, maybe Jeff, if you could discuss what a normal parking lot redo would entail, if this was not a site plan, but someone was going to do a mill and overlay in their parking lot, what kind of permits would they need to pull and work need to be done?
Certainly. Presently, our ordinance does not address the redoing of a parking lot. I've had more than several discussions with Superintendent Udi before he retired about, is that something we should do or not do? There are times when people have redone a parking lot and caused a water problem. But we presently don't have that. We don't presently get permits for flat work concrete around your home. If somebody just takes the driveway out that their house was built in and put it back, that's fine, but we're finding people are doing more and more paving, and that causes water problems. The issue at the end of the day is that something that the city as a whole thinks is important, and I can tell you that in our surrounding areas, Novi doesn't, Farmington Hills doesn't, Livonia doesn't, on flat work, Redford and Southfield do. So the older communities seem to do that, I think, probably because they've started to get those water problems that come, but we would not get a permit at all to redo a parking lot if you just came in and did it. That's not, now if you were gonna change something, the only thing I can really have jurisdiction over is the number of handicap parking spots when you're done has to meet the minimum requirements of state law. Other than that, we don't touch parking lots based on our ordinances today. If they're new, naturally, they're brand new, they're coming to see you, that's a different story.
Sure. Interesting. All right, thank you, Jeff.
So I think a waiver that's also being granted in terms of the engineering is typically, if this was a brand-new site, you would have an engineer come in and draw plans for it and do the grading and calculate the drainage and do some other things. And that's not been done here. So that, in essence, is a waiver you'd be granting and saying, well, it's close to the existing parking lot that's there, it's been draining, fine, we're not aware of any problems that parking lot's had in terms of ponding or water. Jeff, maybe you could speak to what you've seen at that spot.
That's correct. Really, I've been to the site a couple of times. It is definitely high on Grand River. I know I got a lot of experienced people sitting up there in the design world, but if you ever pay really close attention, all state highways are higher in elevation than all the other roads around it. So they always drain onto the surface streets, which is the case on Grand River. So you drive up into the parking lot off of Grand River, and then the whole lot drains to the north end of the alley where the catch basins are presently. So there's, drainage is not an issue on this site. It's very flat, but it does pitch gradually towards the alley and that's where the water goes. But if you're ever driving around and you're wondering whether you're on a state road or a county road, if when you turn off the state road, you go downhill, you were on a state road because they always drain to everybody else. They don't take the drainage, they give it to other people.
Any other comments or questions for petitioners or for OHM or for staff?
I seem to be a little bit focused on this wall. I'm just wondering if it's possible to include a provision or something, that if something should happen to the existing wall that's maintained by a homeowner, then we may be able to enforce needing to construct a wall.
You're talking in the back of the property?
Yeah,
with the
that
existing
privacy
fences?
wall. Mm-hmm.
Beth?
Totally.
Wasn't there a discussion about how that would get in the way of site circulation if there was a wall? Isn't that their main entrance back there along the alley?
I think
But,
you meant putting it on the
property,
north side.
the
Yeah,
property.
which would be like making,
Well, you'd have to force
these-
somebody to give you an easement to do that.
right,
You'd have to be in agreement with doing that. It'd have to be voluntary.
yeah. And I could see somebody deciding they like, oh, that looks nice. I'm gonna tear down my fence and make the doctor here build me a wall,
Yeah.
because I like that better. You know? I don't,
I would say the
I like
purp-
the idea, but.
well, I don't know, I mean, the purpose of the fence and the screen is to screen the commercial parking from the residential area.
Right.
So somebody already has put a fence there, and that was not there, they didn't, it was there, it's pre-existing. So if the current resident decides they want to take the fence down, they can do that. And this property wouldn't be required to put something back. Now, if one of their clients hits the fence, yeah, you'd have to, but then that's a different thing. That's that damage that it would have to repair to put it back. But I don't think we'd have to require them to replace it if they had nothing to do with it being damaged.
Are there any other waivers that need to be addressed in the engineering review? I think it was really just the stormwater. Or the engineering, site engineering, right?
Waiting for a motion?
If there's any other comments or questions? I see some heads shaking no.
Oh. I would move, and I'm not sure I get all the language correct, but to move to approve the site plan as, with the waivers that were mentioned, what they agreed to, as presented.
I would read it as, if I would suggest, to approve the street lighting waiver as requested, the screening wall waiver on the property line for the 6-foot screening wall as requested, requested the knee wall waiver, allowing a vegetative instead of a masonry knee wall, and the waiver for off-street parking, allowing an overage of off-street parking, and a waiver for providing full engineering plan submittal.
That's what I want to say, yeah.
Support.
Hold on, before you support. Can we include, there were two other requirements that OHM said they wanted to make sure that the property ownership was clarified, and also the pole height requirement must be included?
That was, yeah, but that was that wasn't a waiver, that was a requirement.
Yeah, so as long as those requirements are met, right?
You can add those as conditioned on
Yes.
those requirements in the.
They won't get a permit without joining those properties together. It's one of them. We won't let that go through.
Okay.
And the other one was
The pole height requirement.
the pole height. They've already lowered it.
Got it, okay. Thank you, sorry.
Support.
Okay, so motion was made and supported. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I do have one question. Anywhere in dental school did they prepare you for this?
For this, no.
Okay. Well, welcome to Farmington. Welcome back to Farmington.
back.
Back to Farmington.
Nobody's prepared for it. The dentists, eye doctors, architects.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So, item number 5, Part B, proposed changes to the parking requirements. Mr. Weber.
This item is a discussion and potential scheduling of a public hearing for proposed zoning ordinance text amendments related to parking requirements. It would amend 2 different areas of the ordinance. The first one has to do with off-street parking and loading standards and access design. And the second component would be central business district, non-residential and mixed-use development requirements. The city contracted with OHM to conduct a parking best practices analysis and downtown Farmington parking study. This analysis included reviewing parking industry best practices and regional minimum and maximum requirements, and comparing those with the city of Farmington's current parking requirements for multifamily developments, typical downtown commercial land uses, and mixed-use shared parking. Results and discussion of the analysis are attached in your packet. The best practices analysis was presented to both the parking committee and the DDA. The parking committee, reviewing the recommendations, made the following motion, which was move to accept the results of a parking best practices analysis performed by OHM with adjustments, and to recommend to the planning commission and city council that the following changes be made to the zoning ordinance for parking requirements in the central business district. The first one was for general office space, to decrease the parking requirement from 1 per 250 square feet to 1 space per 300 square feet. So requiring a little bit less parking there. The second, for multifamily residential, to decrease the parking requirement from 2 spaces per dwelling unit, or 1.5 per dwelling unit where on-street parking is provided for, to 1 space for efficiency in 1-bedroom apartments, or 1 units, 1 space for efficiency in 1-bedroom units, which would become a half space per dwelling unit for efficiency in 1 bedroom where public parking is available. And then 1.5 spaces for 2 or more bedrooms, which would become 1 space per dwelling unit for 2 or more bedrooms where public parking is available. And then the third would be to change from gross floor area and gross leasable area to usable floor area. That's a little different than I had in the staff report. I had a mistype there. So that change in terminology would cause, when you do the calculations, you'd remove common areas, closets, bathrooms, and stairwells from calculating what the parking requirement would be. So just looking at what the actual usable floor area would be. So again, it would loosen up the parking requirements a little bit related to that. So that motion was made and was passed unanimously from the parking committee. And then that parking study and recommendation was taken to the DDA. And they reviewed what the parking committee had done and made a motion.
20 years, I've been passing by, 40-some years, I'm sorry, and it never changed. Now it's changing. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Weber?
So they made the following motion to support the recommended changes to the zoning ordinance as outlined by the parking committee, and then also said, but the board is also open to lesser requirements for parking in the central business district. So administration is recommending that the planning commission review the parking committee and DDA motions, and if there is support with the planning commission, to schedule a public hearing, which would take place at the next planning commission meeting in December. After the public hearing, the planning commission would then recommend either approval or denial of the proposed zoning ordinance text amendment, and then forward it on to city council if appropriate.
All right, thank you very much. My first question is, what is the date? Just if, in the event we get there, what is the date of the December?
8th.
We're good at getting tripped up by that.
Yeah, that sounds right, but let me double check. Correct, the 8th.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, sir. All right, commissioners, we have any comments or questions before discussing a motion?
Oh, I'm on the parking committee,
Yes, sir.
and some of them are pushing to get, making recommendations to try to get the downtown Farmington area more available for the redevelopment. And one of the issues that's come up before is parking and the requirement for parking. Now, some of the other communities in the studies we found in the neighborhoods and other neighboring cities, they have sometimes a zero parking requirement for some things, or we have parking requirements. I think we could still make that recommendation here, but from the parking committee, we were saying at least relieving some of the stress, some of the requirements. So that's why the recommended numbers are reducing what's there. I think we could probably push it further, or should push it further, but I don't know how much I'll be willing to accept getting it closer to zero.
Yeah. Well, I think we've all been involved in this for quite some time now, and in my opinion, it seems like the general consensus is half of residents think we have a parking problem, half don't. And that's been consistent since I've been involved.
Interesting note, because the last applicant just asked to raise their amount of parking over what's required.
I found that interesting.
Ultimately making it up to the developer who knows what they need, as opposed to an arbitrary, here's a formula, is probably the best route. I've seen some communities doing that, going away from this.
Well, I think the difference there, that the previous applicant here, they're not downtown.
True.
So they're, they need to have, well, whether they need it or not, but they want to have more parking. If this were to be a project presented in downtown Farmington, it'd be different. Sure. They would still need the number of parking spaces, but there are public parking options.
Yeah.
And I thought there was an option in the ordinance that basically said that in downtown you can defer or effectively reduce the amount of required parking because there's a municipal lot nearby. And I thought there was a line I'm trying to find it right now, because I thought there was something that said that.
That came up.
Because like all of your downtown businesses, they don't provide their own parking. Chocolate Chips doesn't have any parking.
Yeah. Well, Crazy Crab, that was
Crazy.
one, because there was a parking lot across the street.
Sure.
Well,
Because they're adjacent to the large municipal lot.
Yeah.
So because they have municipal parking, they don't have to provide their own.
The Crazy Crab, I do believe, got a variance for that, though.
Okay.
You might be right on that one.
The Crazy Crab. downtown, there is public parking available, so.
I thought there was something in the ordinance for it, but I can't find it off.
I think somebody,
I
Mr.
believe
Jeff.
you're correct, that we have, when you have public parking, the businesses don't have to meet every single, my head tells me that changes with residential, because those people can't leave in 3 hours, they gotta stay there. So if they don't have a place to park, they're gonna be on our side streets and so on. So those are I think that's why they have a formula, especially for residential. Our ordinance does say that, you don't have to meet it explicitly because there is some parking available. I was great, and I don't think they're full yet, but we have the hair salon here at the end of and I thought that was gonna be a nightmare because they have 50 spaces that people are there for a short period of time and then gone. So 50 haircuts and 50 hairdressers would be 100 spaces, which would overwhelm that lot, but I haven't seen that yet. So, because they didn't have to explicitly meet our parking requirements for hair salons because we have the other parking. And I thought it was really gonna be a bad problem, but I have not seen that problem yet.
Well, they're not even close to capacity.
They may not be. I don't know the answer.
Yeah, yeah, it looks a little lean in there.
Well, that type of business is probably not gonna have a max, just because the way they do business, it's not gonna have a maximum number.
Not at the same time. Yeah, I agree, because the whole idea is it's an appointment only type of thing.
And even then, I think our parking lot could probably accommodate that load, because of the other businesses load on the lot, so. I think even if they maxed out, there would still be space.
Maybe not during a market, but
Except for during the market, there isn't space.
for anything.
for anything.
Yeah.
Chris, did you have something? Sorry.
In section 35-104 is what you were looking for, which says that parking lot design that this has to do with the central business district. That particular provision, and it says parking lot design shall conform to the requirements of Article 14, which is off-street parking and loading standards and access design. Because the regulations of this section are intended to encourage pedestrian transit-friendly design and compact mixed-use development that require less reliance on automobiles, on-site parking required under Article 14 may be waived under the following conditions. And A is, the site is located within 500 feet of other parking facilities intended for public use, such as a municipal parking lot, parking structure, or on-street parking that provides adequate parking spaces to serve the proposed use.
In making the ordinance revision, we may want to reconsider that as well, maybe. I don't know if that's something we can bring up now, but the 500 feet, the distance, because we have parking, I guess, in theory, someone could park on one side of town, the west side of town, and park in the TJ Maxx lot, which is available to the public,
What's the radius?
and be more than 500 feet from the business if they're on the other side of, or closer to Farmington Road.
If you want to go to Loft or something.
Right. If you're gonna park over there and go to, you may be more than 500 feet. So I don't know if that, but there is parking that's close by, but specifically speaking to the residential, the parking spaces in most of the lots are timed. And the lots that aren't timed, where someone could park, are at the edges of town. So you may be able to park in a timed spot that's 500 feet, but an untimed spot may be more than 500 feet. I don't know if we need to make that distinction in the.
Also, getting back to, up to the developer, if somebody wants an apartment, a condo, whatever, that's downtown, they don't have their own parking spot, maybe they don't charge as high a rent.
Well, I think that makes it possible to do the development, because now you're not building a parking spot for someone. If they want a spot, it's extra.
So, is it up to us to tell them that they have to provide a parking spot if they can sell it without a parking spot? They don't need it? I mean, I know people without cars who don't drive, who are looking actively for places in downtown Farmington.
Well, that's what this ordinance, I think, change suggestion does, is because now, when someone does a development, they have to provide a parking space. And we're suggesting to not have to provide as many spaces. I mean, going
Still
down,
have to provide spaces, just not as many.
well, as example, for an efficiency or a one-bedroom, only having to provide half a space per unit as opposed to a space per unit.
So these changes will only apply to new construction then? Not to current developments? When's the application of these changes?
That's a good question. I guess it would be primarily for new development.
Any new development, right? Whether residential or business,
Right,
once it's approved.
if it's approved.
If it's approved, it would just mean that the businesses that meet the current requirement would now be overparked, potentially.
Potentially.
Potentially, but that's
I don't know that it's
how
an
it
issue.
is, right?
Yeah, I don't know that it's an issue.
I think what we should hope or would hope would happen is with this, that some properties now that are not being redeveloped because they would have to meet the parking requirement, now with the more relaxed parking requirement would be more attractive to
Yeah,
redevelop.
just one more attraction for them.
Yeah.
Would that make the Castle Dental property that we saw once upon a time that I haven't seen come back yet doable?
Was parking a big issue?
It may,
That was a CVS parking.
Yeah, that was the they were trying to park in the CVS lot.
it may give them some relief. I don't know.
Not completely, because I don't think they had any, but just as an example,
I think it was like two tight ones, like right up against the building. Like it was real weird.
yeah.
Yeah.
But it would make some, to your point though, it would potentially make some of those projects more attainable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I'd like to make a motion to schedule a public hearing for proposed zoning ordinance text amendments for off-street parking and loading standards and access design in central business district, non-residential and mixed-use development requirements, scheduled for the December 8th, 2025 Planning Commission meeting.
I'll support.
Motion made and supported. All in favor?
Aye?
Aye. Thank you very much. All right. Item number 6, update on any current development projects. Chris, did you have any updates or comments?
Just what I wanted to let you know that Legion Square is looking to kick off pretty soon. So I was in contact with the developer last week, and they are getting ready to schedule a pre-construction meeting, post all their financial guarantees, and get to work. So
Yeah, he had one, it was a state permit?
he was waiting on one more permit. I don't know, Austin, do you know which one in particular?
The, excuse me, the water main and sanitary permits took quite a bit of time because Eagle's notoriously backed up. But he got those, it's probably been around a month ago at this time, but he was working on obtaining contractor quotes, and with construction season wrapping up, it was a little difficult to stay in contact with contractors and get quotes in a timely manner. So I know that's been his most recent holdup. So, but, and like Chris said, he reached out to him. I've talked to him a couple times recently too. I know he's chomping at the bit. So should be an exciting project. He's going to hit the ground rolling, and great addition for that end of the city.
That's great.
So the sewer permits were backed up.
That's a good one.
Well done. Well done.
All right, Ken.
All right, do you have any other comments, Chris?
None others.
Okay, thank you.
I have
Yes, sir.
questions regarding that.
Sure.
Famous Hamburger and the downtown, the new park downtown. What's our timelines?
Promenade.
The promenade, thank you.
Okay.
The promenade, maybe I'll point that back.
Yeah, it might be Austin questions.
Daily contact.
Yeah, so I know right now for the promenade or park, the contractor is working with one of their subs, landscape subs, to get some final submittals to us to approve, and basically we're just kind of waiting to get those over in our hands. Ties in a little bit with the electrical too, and as soon as we have those, just approving them, and the first step is the electrical sub's gonna come in, put his conduit in. And then that way, you'll see Warren Contractor who did, the Pocket Park off of Farmington Road and then also, Mason's Corner too. They'll come in and start doing a little bit of grading and general site work, so, we're hoping to get started any day now, but I know the general contractor Warren's like been bugging their subs to get information to us so we can stamp approved and get going, so.
So the coming winter, and that's not gonna affect the timeline, they can work through winter on that park?
We're hoping if they're able to start soon and weather holds up well, that we can pour concrete within the next, I mean, it's a short project. It shouldn't take them long to do. We're hoping if they're able to start in the next week or two that we can get a weather window where we can get most of the site work done. Restoration we knew was going to get pushed to the spring regardless of when we started, just to guarantee growth and make it easier for the contractor to not have to do something twice. We weren't going to hold them to that.
Sure.
But I don't want to jinx anything, say anything were to bad to happen and it was to back up and they were like, hey, we can only do so much site work now. We got to come back and pour concrete in the spring. I don't really think it's going to be that detrimental. I know there's obviously a timeline of when this needs to get done by the end of next year. We're confident in the contractor. They're familiar with the city. They've worked with the city a bunch. We are too. So, right now our main focus and goal is get as much done this year and worry about restoration next year. If it gets pushed into the spring, which again, I'm hoping not the jinx, I think it'll still be okay, but we're not thinking that right now.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Yep.
What was the first one?
The new restaurant downtown, the Famous Burger. The Bulldog closed, and I saw a sign in the window.
Yeah. Across from Fresh Time.
I think I can answer that for you. So Bulldog sold their business, reassigned the lease, if you will, to Famous Hamburgers. I guess they're out of Dearborn. They were in the office the other day. They gave me an architectural drawing, missing a couple of details. I told them go ahead and get started on their, the removal. They're doing very little changes, new booths, some tables, and they're going to put a. If you're familiar, many of your like Coney Island restaurants will have a wall with a window in it, where they pass the food through the window to the staff on the other side. They want to put one of those up, where Tubby's was all wide open.
Yeah.
So they're just putting up a wall to kind of hide their cooking area. And they were in. I told them they could go ahead and get started on what they had to do to remove, and just because most of the plan was there, just a couple of details missing. They're supposed to bring those back. They'll be starting, and I think they want to open up right away. They don't have very much work to do. So I think you'll see that, certainly before the end of the year, unless something happens that they somehow slow down a lot. But they were anxious.
So all their modifications are interior. There's no.
Oh yeah, just interior, other than the sign at some point.
Okay. Thank you.
What's happening at the Tuesday morning space? Looks like they're putting in two entrances, or dividing the
Answer that.
space.
The Tuesday morning was one large space, one electrical service, one set of bathrooms on one end. They applied for a permit to break it back into three spaces. So they're going to have, instead of having a great big space, so they got to take one electrical service, make it smaller, put in two new ones, add some bathrooms. They're just white boxes. We don't have any knowledge that anybody's trying to move into those three yet. I do had one inquiry and a building permit request for the music store to be a physical therapy place.
Okay.
So that's what I can tell you about what's going on that strip, but everything's inside.
One more, Jeff, Hillside Towns. Something happened today, certificate?
Yeah, well, yeah, I issued 5 certificates of occupancy for Hillside Towns, contingent upon some outdoor work. Naturally, they got irrigation, sod, bushes, second coat of asphalt, some screening around the utility meters and things. But the first 5 certificates of occupancy went out at 5 o'clock or something. And they have closing scheduled, I think, at the end of this week or the beginning of next.
Oh, that's great.
So the big thing with me, and I'm kind of a nutcase about this, and well, I'm a nutcase anyway, but how are the people going to get to their units and stay away from the construction people? I don't like any groups of people mixing. So
Be cozy.
right. So there, we kind of have a plan. The construction workers are all going to come in the back of the site on both ends for now. And the next building that's going to be ready, right now they're in what we call Building A, closest to the church parking lot. Building B is very close to being ready, and the people are going to come in that way. But once they get, C is going to be the last building built, and D is the one that's over on the church parking lot in the rear. That one will be next, and then the people will start coming in the other way, and the one end will be all the construction entrance until they're. That's what we kind of decided, how to keep everybody away from the other. You know, it's just, I've lost 3 workers in my career from accidents, and I'm real sensitive to who gets to mix with who.
Sure.
I mean, literally, no, you're not getting to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, because, there were 3 people that didn't go home to their families, so they're well positioned to get it done, orderly, and they, like I say, they've been real good about making sure that nobody skips any inspections and everything does right. They've been doing a great job over there.
Well, it renews the city's because circulation and traffic flow that was a huge point of contention before Maxfield even lost a brick. And it shows that not only are we thinking about what the day-to-day life is going to be like, but the transition period too. So that's huge. So you still might have a neighbor complain, but it's the neighborhood.
Wouldn't be a city if we didn't.
Amen. All right, thanks, Jeff. Do we have any other updates from staff that we're inquiring about?
What about the, is it the Big Boy? I think I saw a for sale sign recently.
That's been up a while now.
Yeah, downtown.
At least a month, right?
I got the most apologetic phone call you could ever get from the guy that owns that place. He said he kept it open 6 to 9 months longer than was even feasible, trying to make it go. He just didn't have the business.
Sure.
Their product was good. It was reasonably quick. We just didn't have people going. But it wasn't that he didn't try. He put a lot of money in that place.
Sometimes it just doesn't work. Yeah. All right. Seeing no other updates, we can move on to public comment, but I see we're missing the public to comment. Unless the gentleman from OHM have any other comments? Nothing? Nothing? All right. Planning Commissioner comments? Do we have any other, other than what we've reviewed tonight? Any other comments for staff?
Congratulations to our city council members.
All right. No, I did not hear the results of that.
3 on the ballot and 3 got elected because there was no competition. So,
I guess the competition was who has to,
4 and 2.
yeah,
yeah.
who has to re-up soonest.
All right, seeing no other comments, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Support.
Motion made and supported, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Good night, everybody.
Good night. So, tomorrow is the meeting.